Not today, like every day in this very unpredictable summer, very unpredictable summer. We're supposed to have some heavy thunderstorms at some point in the day, but they've changed the thing 14 times last night and this morning, so I'm going to try to get a ride in. Without a ride, as soon as I get out of here, you know it's going to rain. But anyway, we're going to try to tough it out. It's been an unpredictable summer. There's just no other way to describe it weather-wise, and well, it just couldn't be any better here with the garden, and Karen's facing some back surgery and among other things, and seeing my grandson every day, having fun with him. It's been an unpredictable summer. A good way to put it. But there's some things that are very predictable. Hungry fish. Very predictable. It's the same every day. And who could have ever predicted having a little accident we had with this, destroying half of the paint job on the first day out on the open road? Kind of unpredictable. Luciano having his very serious accident. Another element of unpredictability. And Karen needing major back surgery roughly a month from now. All unpredictable things I had no idea were coming my way. And I think sometimes you're better off not knowing what's coming your way. Well, that's of course in the eye of the beholder, but we're going to still try to sneak in a short ride today. And my zinnias. I just couldn't tell you how much fun I've been having. All these are grown from seeds. And the whole backyard, including Karen's little garden here, have been an unpredictable treat. We actually didn't expect it to turn out this nice. Even on a day like today when it's raining and our very unpredictable weather goes from rain to sun to rain to sun, just feed me. I don't care if it's raining out. So it looks like we really ducked a bullet, because not only is this a big rainstorm, but it's turning into a terrible day. We haven't had any days that the whole day is terrible. But boy, this we will not have to water the garden today, but so live to fight another day. And sometime that happens. Now, because it's raining and raining on and off all day, it looks like, one of the things I thought I'd do, and it's still a small detail that I wanted to take care of on the FZR. Let me explain. The FZR is a very smooth motorcycle relative to, I guess, the two-strokes anyway, the RD. But one of the things, it does have a little bit of a buzz in the foot pegs. And it's not really objectionable. It's not something you can't live without, but I'm always trying to make the bike more comfortable to ride. The older I get, the more I want better mirrors, a comfortable seat with a little extra padding, and one of the upgrades I've wanted to make, and I decided today's a good day to do it, is the foot pegs. Now, if this modification works out like I would hope it will, I can do it to some of the other motorcycles. But I'll try it on the FZR first, see if I'm happy with the result, and if I'm not, this is very easy to change, and it's about $10. Now, some of the bikes like the GS have rubber over the foot pegs, and this is really nice. When you're riding the bike, not much comes through these pegs. In fact, on the GS, it's smooth as glass like a Cadillac. Well, I noticed that the aftermarket, between $10 and $13, you can have your choice of foot pegs that have a rubber insert. So I also noticed, and this is on the Kawasaki, that because this is a twin usually vibrates more, they have these rubber pads. And I noticed, wow, these are really nice and soft. And even the back pegs. And I had thought if I couldn't find ones that would be fit conveniently, I'd take the back pegs off this, because I never ride with passengers anymore. But then I thought for $10 I can just go buy a set. And sometimes you got to think, the stuff that you can buy on eBay is so cheap, it doesn't even pay to take it off an old motorcycle. And when I bought the R1, the first modification I made was, see these little, I took a Dremel tool and made, these are like razor blades. They're really sharp. I cut these grooves in here because my feet were trying to slide off the end of the peg if the boot got wet, or if you, whatever situation, it, by making little sharp edges here, and these here are nice and sharp too, by the way, what this did, your foot locks into that peg a lot better. Now the rubber actually does the same thing. These I didn't like at all, but they came with the bike, so. But if they work out on the FCR, these are about 5 minutes to change, about $10 to $15, and you're home free all. Now, it seems like that would be a small thing. Sometimes it's the small things that once you do them, you go, wow, I should have done that years ago. I have a feeling once I get these pegs in stock, that's going to be how that plays out. And it's funny, the RD really has some vibration. There's a lot of vibration coming through the pegs, but the rubber mutes it. I wouldn't even try to put aluminum pegs on an RD. I don't think that would even, it would be funny. There is serious vibration coming at, and those pegs are mounted to a rod, a plate that's mounted under the engine in rubber biscuits. So even that, and I mean, most two-strokes really do have vibration issues, especially twins. But this one, it's something you can deal with. But if you don't have to deal with it, why put up with it? For $10, why put up with anything? And while I'm mentioning things that annoy me, I love Motion Pro hand grips. The only problem is they are really nice, soft rubber, and you get a really nice grip. They really feel great. The only problem is, boy, they wear out quickly, and I have replaced so many of them. I just treat them like you treat tires now. But then when I ride a bike that doesn't have, see, they all have Motion Pro grips now, and they really, you get used to how good they are. But then all of a sudden one day you notice they're all worn smooth. Well, just like tires, soft rubber wears out. It's kind of a simple equation. Now on the 650, this has hard rubber grips. They've never worn out, but they're hard rubber grips. So next time I have this, any reason to take this apart, I bought an extra set of Motion Pro grips. These smooth grips, your hand is always just, you have to squeeze a little bit harder than you do with the Motion Pro grips. In my closet here somewhere I have a whole bucket of hand grips, the ones that are kind of worn out, and well, it goes without saying, rubber parts need replacement. Now another funny story about hand grips. I remember, and these are the ones that belong on an RD, so I really wanted to keep them that way. But I remember the first time I got an H1, and boy was that a vibrator. Well, they had these funky hand grips that had big like teeth on them. And I remember thinking, oh, these are too big, I don't like them. And the bike didn't vibrate that bad. But when I put regular hand grips on, and I said, now I know why they put those hand grips with the big rubber cushions on them. And they felt awkward, but I do remember when Luciano restored his H1, he found those grips. They still make them. And that's another choice, of course, but they didn't feel right to me. They were just too big on my hand. Hand grips, all of the things that you interface with a bike with. You interface with the pegs, the seat, the three interfaces. When they are not right, it takes a lot of the enjoyment of riding a bike. It just takes the enjoyment away. Now, I understand when they make a modern motorcycle like an R1. This is a 10-year-old R1. But I do remember there were several things that I was just not crazy about. And I sharpened up those foot pegs. And that was one thing I wasn't crazy about. And I may replace those if this works out good. Because what I'm trying to do, I want to have a super bike. Here's what I want. I want to have the engine from a super bike. But I don't want to have the discomfort of riding a typical super bike with no mirrors. With mirrors you can look at your belly button with. And low handlebars. I want to have a real motorcycle, but I want the super bike engine. And that's almost a non-existent combination. The way it worked back in the day, and back in the good old day, is they made a top-of-the-line bike with the big engine. Let's call it the most powerful engine. Then they made the street version of that had a detuned engine for low-end torque, and handlebars that were uncomfortable, and foot pegs that were in the wrong position, and a seat that was made out of wood. And so, but you got the Superbike engine, which made it all worthwhile. Well, now the whole idea of everything I've done is to take, I want that typical FZR R1 high output engine. I don't want the compromise engine. I don't want the one with low end torque. I want that one. But I want to have comfortable grips, comfortable handlebars, mirrors I can see out of, and maybe very soon we're going to have foot pegs that just add a little level of comfort. And the seat, I've already got an extra layer of foam in that seat, and it's worked perfectly. Now, while we're talking about the rider motorcycle interface, the seat on the 650 has a 3/4 inch extra layer of the black closed cell foam. May not be the most attractive seat in the world, but the seat that comes on the bike, and this is something I've seen on a lot of motorcycles, it has a very funny slant that you're always sliding downhill. It was the only thing about the bike I didn't like. Well, I added this piece of foam and then put a 3/4 inch piece over the whole part. I think we have a video of doing that seat. Now, maybe the seat does look a little chunky, but boy, at the end of a 200-mile ride, you don't see it that way at all. Now, I even went so far as, I won't mention any names, but one of my friends who rides a lot of dirt bikes said, oh, you got to use Renthal grips. They're the best. And they make super soft and medium and hard. I bought a set of their super soft grips. I put them on the FCR, and I had them on for a month, and they just rounded right off. Now, that's the price of these high-performance things. High-performance things are a lot of fun on race bikes, but they're not a little less fun on street bikes. And grips that wear out once a month, I don't know. And it's a common mistake that new motorcyclists make all the time. They think if something's a racing quality thing, well, let's get that on my bike. They want racing quality everything, and then they find out it might be not quite as comfortable. It might not even last, in the case of tires, it might not last a fraction of the length. And you think it's uncomfortable, you go for a 50-mile ride, then you go for a 200-mile ride, and you come home and go, what was I thinking? Now, one of the points of all the videos I make and share, the things I've done to all of these motorcycles, the paint, the modifications, the mufflers, the handlebars, the mirrors, and coming up the foot pegs very soon. I've already got them ordered. The whole idea of everything I do is to make these motorcycles suit my needs. Now, I'm not racing, so I don't need ultra soft tires that are going to wear out in 2,000 miles. I don't need a full race exhaust system that's going to give me a headache every minute of the day. There's certain compromises that sometimes you make the compromise and you realize that isn't really what I had in mind. And then you go back to something a little tamer, that makes a little more sense, and you wind up being a lot happier. And in this case, every one of these motorcycles, I've done things that after I've done them, I've said, not so sure that's going to work for me. Now, a good example of that is, I actually had more than one set of Renthal gold anodized bars on the GS. They felt great in the garage. They felt great on a half-hour or 1-hour ride. I went on a 200-mile ride, came home and took them off. That's what happens. And the problem that I have with motorcycles, if you take a bike and you ride up to your local coffee shop and sit there and look at motorcycles on Saturday night, probably you could ride on a log or on a loaf of bread. The trouble is, the people I generally ride with really ride. And you want to ride every day. And everything you can do, in my case, the three interfaces, the seat, what will be the pegs, and the hand grips and handlebars, and then throw in the mirrors for good luck. They have made these bikes so much more fun to ride. Can't even explain it. But I would guarantee you, if you've ever made one of these modifications, and by the way, here are the Renthal bars. They're on the other Suzuki. There's just certain things that in your mind, they look good, but at the 200-mile mark, they just don't look that good anymore. There's just one small thing I want to add before I end this video, since it's turned out to be a crappy rainy day the whole day. Glad we didn't go out and have to ride back in this. You know, I'm just going to use the R1 for an example. The R1 has incredible brakes. You can do stoppies with one finger. That's not the point, though. The point is, as Luciano has had happened during his accident, and we've looked at the video of it, and it looks like he locked up the front wheel, and he's convinced that the brakes that are on the big Brembo brakes on the Ducati 999, under race conditions they're great, but on a street they might lock up the front wheel. That could be a problem with any of the modern sport bikes. Now, Jose has told me, and I kind of agree with him, that he has both Japanese bikes and European bikes, specifically BMWs. And he says the difference with the Japanese bikes, the brakes come on a little softer, the lever's a little softer, and they're a little more predictable, at the cost of maybe overall braking, which if you were on a racetrack, maybe you need that. Certainly the way we ride, these brakes are totally adequate. They're even beyond adequate. Any bike you can do a stoppie with, that's about it. Because the next thing after the stoppie is you lock up the front wheel. So I was kiddingly joking around with Luciano about locking up the front wheel on the Ducati, and I said, here's what we could do. We could put the front wheel of the Ducati on my RD and put this brake. This is an old wooden Yamaha RD front brake. And believe me, you got all you can do to stop. This brake is, you're never going to worry about over braking with that brake. But the good news is, for street riding, perfectly adequate. Riding up 106, under 100 miles an hour, perfect. But I'm wondering, over 100 miles an hour, might want to get the sintered pads. I don't know. But that's one of the things we've learned from Luciano's accident, that you can overdo the front brake capacity and the feel. So this day, it basically rained the whole day. I had a lot of little errand things to do. It's funny, the fish go underwater to keep from getting wet, but the plants love it. I got one final thing before I close out the video that I think you'll get a kick out of. Now, this is Karen's vegetable thing, and she's done with the vegetables except for one pepper. There's one baby pepper growing here. Look at that pepper. But I bought some zinnia seeds, and on the box it says it takes 7 days before you see a sprout. This is the second day they're in the ground. And you can see every one of them looks like it's sprouted out. It looks like I'm going to have plenty of zinnias. And by the way, when they do, I got another bucket of them growing over here. When they do come to fruition, they are some beautiful, beautiful flowers. This one's a little obscured there, but I've been having a lot of fun with the zinnias, and I think next year Karen and I are going to grow many, many more. Now, I always say what we share with the little videos we try to share every day, or almost every day in the summer. We're not really sharing motorcycling, we're sharing our lives. And I think to a certain degree that's true. So even on this real rainy day, I hope you've enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe give you some food for thought about motorcycling modifications and things you could do to your own bike. And thanks for watching.